What if you could find brand new worlds right here on Earth, where anything is possible? Same planet, different dimension. I found the gateway.
The Rewatch podcast presents the Sliders Rewatch, dedicated to the series Sliders on Fox and Sci-Fi Channel. Join us each week as we continue crossing the Einstein-Rosen-Podolsky Bridge and find ourselves in strange new worlds. Email your thoughts on each episode to the rewatchpodcast@gmail.com. Join us on Facebook at facebook.com/rewatchpodcast or on Twitter @rewatchpod.
And welcome back to the Rewatch podcast and our Sliders Rewatch. I'm Cory.
And I'm going to the beach.
Thank you for joining us again as we discuss 2 more episodes of Sliders. We're into season 3. Woo!
Yes, we are. For better or for worse.
We're going to find out, that's for sure.
Yes.
Okay, so this week we're discussing Double Cross and rules of the game. So beginning with our first episode, Double Cross, written by Tony Blake and Paul Jackson, directed by Richard Compton. This originally aired September 27th of 1996.
Hey, my man. How much for a hot dog with chili and cheese?
What are you, a comedian? What'll it be, green or yellow?
Geo mash. What is that?
What planet are you from?
Sir, do you know where we could get a hot dog?
In the dictionary.
You know, it seems like everywhere we go to, we have trouble with the food. Do you know what would happen if I ate that stuff? I have a very sensitive digestive tract.
Our sliders arrive in a subway tunnel, and after a narrow escape from an oncoming train, they find themselves in a world seemingly devoid of cars and high prices on gasoline, people using human-powered transport devices such as bikes and skateboards, food is at a premium, and the leading alternative is a product known as Geomatch. Remy is quickly swept away by a beautiful fan, while our remaining sliders are suddenly chased down by several people on motorcycles. They are quickly caught, but one of the riders, Logan St. Clair, comes forth to welcome them, calling them by the name Sliders. Logan has apparently developed ways to track objects that travel through wormholes, and while they have been working on sliding technology, it hasn't been perfected yet. Indeed, Logan is surprised to see Arturo, who in this world died recently by prematurely trying to jump through a sliding vortex that malfunctioned. Quinn and Arturo agree to help Logan perfect her sliding equipment, and she in return agrees to let them use her lab to help them try and find a way home. Quinn and Logan develop a close relationship despite Wade and Arturo's hesitations. Upon going to the Dominion Hotel, Arturo learns that in this world his double was having an affair with Logan, going against what Logan had said about barely knowing his double. They go to dead Arturo's wife and explain the alternate dimension issue, trying to find out what actually happened. After some sleuthing, they discover evidence that Logan pushed dead Arturo through the vortex when he found out the company's true plans for sliding, raid parallel universes for their natural resources. Meanwhile, Remy is living it up with Monique, the heiress to the paperless toilet empire, being wined and dined and apparently becoming engaged. The two retire to her home, and while a good time was had by all, Remy discovers that Monique may be slightly unbalanced when he happens upon her altar to all things Remy. This is further compounded when she comes into the room wearing a wedding dress before being stopped by a very large and very angry boyfriend. Remy flees, eventually having to resort to riding on top of a train to get back to our trio for the slide. Arturo confronts Quinn about Logan's guilt, and the missing Wade reappears and suggests Quinn still go to the lab and see if their home coordinates have been found. After another talk with dead Arturo's wife, it's revealed that in this world, Arturo invented sliding. Wade slips up by reasoning it makes sense that his double would have invented it just like Arturo did, which outs her as an alternate Wade. Together, Quinn and Arturo find the evidence of Logan's plans and bargain for Wade's release, which turns bad as a fight ensues, a vortex is created, and Logan once again pushes and Arturo through it. Luckily, Arturo is able to slide through successfully without harm because Quinn had discovered the correct coordinates for re-entry. He then sabotages the computer program while Arturo reappears, armed, and rescues him and Wade as they escape to meet Remy at the Dominion Hotel and slide into the next dimension, realizing that because Logan switched their timer's geographic stabilizer, they will now be landing anywhere between San Francisco and Los Angeles. Because Logan still has the ability to track them, she shows up in the next dimension, demanding Quinn give her the re-entry coordinates so that she can slide objects and return them without being destroyed. Quinn enters the numbers into her timer, throws the timer into the vortex, and Logan is pulled in, trying to shoot Wade, but the bullet is pulled in as well. Quinn reveals that he did not enter the correct numbers, condemning Logan to sliding randomly, just like our sliders.
Logan, how exactly did you track our wormhole?
It's not the wormhole I tracked, but the objects traveling through it. I developed an 8-dimensional echoing process that resonates whenever a photon trail is created between dimensions.
Photons, of course.
Of course. This is incredible, to actually meet people from another dimension.
Miss Sinclair, how is it that you know my name? Was my double associated with this project?
Actually, he was. I didn't know him that well. He was kind of a loner. He died 2 nights ago. See, we haven't perfected sliding yet, and apparently he couldn't wait. He attempted to slide anyway.
He did? How odd.
I guess.
Okay, well, let's have some trivia on Double Cross.
Okay, for this one, there was a lot more with that guy who was walking around with Logan, in the background, kind of. That was supposedly, I guess, Logan's boss. His name was Fayne, F-A-Y-N-E. And in the original script, he had a lot more to do. There was a lot more with him sort of bossing Logan around, saying, find out, like the scene started, the episode started with them actually looking at the wormhole on the screen first and him saying, go find out where this is, go find this wormhole. And then there was more stuff with him later instead of just him showing up and grabbing Wade's hand and things like that. He was more of a presence in the original script. And this time, like in the actual episode himself, he's kind of just extraneous. He doesn't do too much. There was a few extra lines about a McTato, which was a McDonald's potato for $99. It was like a value meal they saw on the, in the background. They made a comment on it. I was like, the McTato, $99 value. It's those little things are what I like when they put those in there, because they're fun, There was a bunch of people in line, if you remember, when they were trying to escape, and Quinn goes up the middle and throws like a duffel bag, a big backpack at someone, at the riders, the motorcycle riders. If you were wondering why those people were standing in line, and if you look at it, they all have big bags of something. Originally, there was supposed to be another scene in there about those people, and they were actually in line waiting for a washing machine. and at the very top, there was actually supposed to be a maitre d' who takes reservations for washing machines because it's at such a premium in this world. So the sliders were supposed to be talking to him or something like that, and there was like an interaction. And then later on when they run up, it makes sense that the people are there with these big bags that he could throw at the motorcycle rider. Again, that would have been a neat thing to throw in there, I thought.
Yeah.
There were more scenes with Logan and Quinn flirting, going out to eat together and connecting on that other weird level. They cut those. It's just extra stuff. See, also, originally, Monique knew that the gold crown, I'd pawned my gold crown for you, she knew that wasn't a real song, but was using it to see if Remy was an imposter. So when he tries to sing it, she's like, I don't know what that is. You're an imposter, and then her boyfriend comes in and they both chase after Remy instead of just him. So it was a little different take on her. And we were supposed to have Pavel back. Pavel was supposed to make an appearance as one of those bike rickshaw drivers. Because you've seen him in the episode itself, someone driving the bike around with a seat in the back. And in the script, It didn't say Pavel specifically, but it said a rickshaw driver, and then in capital letters with accent, and the implication was that Pavel was supposed to be back. For whatever reason, that didn't work out, but he had a couple extra lines, like he was going to have some lines with Remy. He was going to take Remy to get away from the big boyfriend, and he like overcharges him. He charges him like $150 for the rickshaw ride, and Remy's like, $150 for a ride, and he's like, $50 for the ride, $100 for getting you away from King Kong, something like that. It was really good. It was perfect for Pavel. And then finally, there was a note that said Tracy Torme, of course. Tracy had plans for Logan to appear again, and eventually she was going to join the Sliders on a couple slides for a couple episodes. And then eventually she was going to be like chasing them, and then she would join them, and then eventually sacrifice herself for them in some way. So, she was going to be a great addition to the show. She's a great character. We'll talk about her later. But Fox did not think that she was hot enough, and so they axed her. They said, no more of her. Get rid of her.
Well, that's interesting, considering where we're going to go after about midway of this season.
Exactly. I mean, I admit that Logan, I thought she was cute. I was like, oh, wow, she's attractive, Like, I wouldn't mind seeing more of her. I mean, in the episode, not actually more of her. But, although I'm okay with that, too. Anyway, let's go on. That's enough trivia.
Don't look so surprised. You knew I could track wormholes. Now give me the re-entry coordinates I need to return objects without burning them up. I have 30 seconds on this world. Import the coordinates I need to slide back safely, or I kill her.
Don't do it, Mr. Mallory. She won't dare shoot. Without those return coordinates, she's stuck here, and heaven knows what they do to killers on this world.
Don't test me. I'll take my chance with a good lawyer.
It's done.
We'll see. Let's go!
I gave you what you wanted.
I have to be sure! Come on!
No, Logan. This time you're gonna have to trust me.
The right coordinates?
No. I programmed her set for another dimension.
So she's out there somewhere lost like us.
Yeah, but she said something about tracking wormholes. We're gonna run into her again?
Let's get into our discussion of the episode.
All right, so now this is the start of season 3 right here, even though it did not air first. There's some different things that have happened now that we're into season 3. So first of all, we are no longer in Vancouver shooting. Season 3, they moved the shooting to back to California, to Los Angeles. That changes things a little bit. And if you notice, the Sliders look a little different, especially Quinn.
Mm-hmm.
He's got the short hair. He's a little bit, I don't know. To me, he looks more Hollywood in this episode going forward. And then you've got Arturo, who looks like, I don't know, his hair is so long. Like, it's very long, and he's not wearing his like suit and tie type thing. He's got like an unbuttoned shirt, which not a big deal, but it's a change that I noticed, right away. Even back when the show first aired, I was like, well, things look really different here. So yeah, it's something I was like, what's going on back then? And then when I found out, oh yeah, they switched to LA, so weather's different. They made some changes about that. The theme song is also different. It's a little bit more, I don't know, upbeat, catchy. The original two theme songs, if you look at them, they're kind of like a little bit harder rockish, not totally like guitars and everything, but they just seemed a little bit more like there was sound effects in them. There was more just driving force to it. It just felt different to me. I don't know if you've noticed that.
Oh, no, I definitely noticed it, especially Quinn and Arturo's look. The main thing I noticed about Arturo, I guess aside from what he's wearing, is the beard. His beard seems a lot more scraggly, you know, like he's actually been, you know, out getting in these crazy adventures for a couple of years now.
It's so weird that they did that, made him look scruffy while they cleaned up Quinn. And they cleaned up Wade, too. Both of them look less misfits. They look so, like, typical Hollywood star now.
Yeah, and on the opposing side, too, you got Remy, who shows up wearing this, like, I don't know, like, shiny suit? Like a silk suit or something?
Exactly. That was very typical of, like, season 1 Remy right there. That's what I thought when he showed up in that suit. It's like, man, that's like season 1 all over again.
Yeah, so they're kind of mismatching like where they're going with it. You think like all of them would be, I guess, more like Arturo, you know, maybe a bit worn, a bit more like survivalist or something like that.
You know, I like the idea of what they did with Arturo with the beard and everything, and the fact that he's not wearing like the bow tie, you know, like he usually does, or looking all put together was good, I think. Like you said, it looks like he's actually been on these adventures. But then Quinn and Wade sort of contrast that, even Remy contrasts that, because they're also, you know, they look like they're put together and dressed up and, you know, ready to go out.
It's interesting that this one should have been first. Of course, it actually aired second. We've got a bit of a switcheroo here. We're talking about the second episode first and the first episode second, the way it should be. And the fact that they actually slide into what is San Angeles, a combination of San Francisco and Los Angeles, considering that they've moved filming to Los Angeles, and then, of course, the outcome at the end, where this geographic stabilizer is going to place them anywhere between San Francisco and Los Angeles. It's just kind of mixing it up a bit.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So you can understand why this episode should be first.
There was one other change that they made in season 3, and this was staff changes behind the scenes, which since they moved to Los Angeles, the reason was because Fox wanted to keep a closer hold on the show. Like they wanted to look over it more, because when they were in Vancouver, you know, Tracy Torme, he said in an interview there was a lot of things that they wanted to do that they were able to do because they were so far away, so they were able to slip things in, and they couldn't change it because it was too late. Now that they are closer to Fox, they can keep an eye on things and make sure things go the way that Fox wanted them to go. And what they did was they promoted certain people on the staff, not Tracy Torme, but Fox did. They promoted certain people on the staff that agreed with Fox's outlooks and their thoughts and beliefs. And one of those people was the infamous David Peckinpah. So he's the one that most Sliders fans look to as like, this is the guy that just took it all down, you know. And apparently he and John Rhys Davies did not have a very good working relationship either. So you could see how things are going to go for the rest of the season, why things happen the way they did. So the move to Los Angeles changed so many things in so many ways, as we're going to see as we go through.
But I guess getting into the episode proper, they slide into a subway tunnel, and it really takes a while for them to get a clue here, really. Like, they're staring at it, and, like, Remy gets trapped and everything, and it's just like, man, it really just takes a while for them to realize that they're in a subway tunnel. Like, even Quinn sort of has to, like, lean down and touch the track. And I'm like, isn't the fact that you're on a track, like, enough information?
Exactly. Yeah, I thought, like, when he did that, actually, what I thought he was going to do, which I thought would have been really, really good, I thought he was going to go and put his ear onto the track, which would be a nice homage to when he was in Stand By Me, you know? I thought that would have been perfect. Why? They should have done that. But yeah, and Remy getting caught in the track or whatever, I thought, man, it's like, this really, like, he looks like season 1 Remy. This is a season 1 Remy ploy by getting him trapped and complaining about his new boots and everything. I was like, wow, I hope we're not going backwards, you know?
Yeah, exactly. But at least the idea for the world is a good idea. This world that has massively depleted resources. Fuel's expensive. The only food you can get is this geomash stuff. Well, at least, you know, on the streetcars. And all these alternate means of transport. You know, you've got businessmen on skateboards and
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a great aesthetic. I love it. It's very LA.
Yeah, and they did a good job of establishing it too. Like it wasn't like just totally like in your face, but you saw all these things going on like off to the side, in the background. So it was really well done.
And then, of course, they're going to set up actually going to LA with Remy and Monique the Psycho.
We already mentioned this, but yeah, Remy. I have this in the notes, but Remy does seem a little bit like season 1 here. You know, going out, getting picked up by a woman and being all into it, and then going off and having his own little adventure, which, you know, someone says it in Messages in Time, but this is very reminiscent of that episode where he got picked up before and went off with a woman for the whole episode. Back in, was it season 1, I think? Maybe it was season 2.
Was it the Summer of Love when he has the wife?
No, it was the weaker sex where the guys were running, where Arturo was running for mayor, and Remy was just off with that girl who was taking advantage of him.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. You know, the thing that threw me off was that he sort of comes like up to the other sliders and he's like, "Oh my God, this girl, she wants to take me to LA on a private jet and blah, blah, blah." And then we find out later that we're in San Angeles. There is no LA. So did she actually, like, is she that much of a psycho that she still refers to LA as LA, even though it's all San Angeles?
I would say so. I think that's the best way to explain it.
Yeah.
She's just nuts.
Yeah. But at the same time, I just thought, it's a bit of a continuity error there.
We get to the best female character of the show here, Logan St. Clair. Which, St. Clair, by the way, if you check the end credits, that's the production company.
Sinclair Entertainment. And she's an interesting character as it goes in. I mean, she works for this company, Prototronics. We know she's very smart and she's working on sliding. And in fact, she tracks them down because she can track wormholes.
Oh, wait, hang on. Doesn't track wormholes. She tracks the photon trail that they leave between wormholes. You know, which, of course, Quinn says, "Oh, yeah, photons, of course." It's almost like crossing the streams. You know, it's like, "Oh, yeah, crossing the streams, of course." Because she says specifically, "Oh, I don't track wormholes. I track the photon trails between the wormholes." You know, which I make a point of because at the end of the episode, she says, "Oh, I guess you forgot. I track wormholes." What? No, you didn't say that earlier, Logan. Well, come on.
I guess at the end of the day, this photon trails things just means that she can track wormholes.
I know. I just like when I heard, like, when she said specifically, "I don't track wormholes," I was like, wait, photons, right? So I looked it up. See, doing my research. I looked it up, and apparently human beings do emit photons. They're called biophotons, which are ultra weak photons, and they're not visible to the naked eye. You need like specialized equipment, you know, like she would have. But yeah, when I was like, okay, so she can track those, but why wouldn't you just track the vortex? That seems like it'd be a lot easier to track than biophotons, which every person in the world emits. If every person in the world emits these biophotons, why would you track those rather than a giant vortex appearing in your universe? You know? So I just thought it was odd that they chose to specifically say in the beginning here, "Oh, I don't track wormholes. I track the biophotons, or I track the photons." Because they made it was like not just a throwaway line, because even Quinn says, "Oh, of course, photons. Why didn't I think of that?" It's like, well, it's not a good idea.
But she's working on sliding, and she can't quite get it right.
No.
It's burning up all these probes that she's sending through. And indeed, the professor on their world apparently slid regardless of this information.
And that doesn't make sense at all to us even.
No. And she doesn't actually have wormholes like the ones that our sliders have.
They're red. Well, they're orangish red.
Yeah, they're not quite like the Chromag ones. They're kind of like an orangey color, and they're a bit misshapen.
Right.
They're not an actual circle.
Right, and that's why I was like, when I saw it first, like, I'm going back, it's like, yeah, they're a little bit more orangish than they are red, but it made me think, I wonder if there's like, they could have had like a whole link with the Chromags there, you know, using with her equipment or something like that too, you know, because it was so similar to what the Chromags had.
But that would be too easy. Instead, they throw a curveball at us, and it turns out that Logan is Quinn, but female.
Right.
Which is super weird because
it's very weird.
The guy, whatever his name was, background evil guy.
Bane.
He's like, "Oh, he's your double, Logan." You need to get close to him, make him stick around. And her immediately, she goes to, I need to seduce him.
Exactly.
Ew. And then to top it all off, the Arturo of that world was sleeping with Logan.
Yeah, her standards are very, very low.
Yeah, I don't know. This whole little thing just seems a little gross.
Like that, definitely. It's like, get the ew factor there. I don't know, about her being Quinn's double just seems odd to me. Like, I understand what they're saying. It's just the difference between an X and Y chromosome and all, but it just seems like I know what they were trying to do by saying she's his twin. You know, she actually is this world's version of Quinn. To me, it just seemed odd that it would be a woman.
Yeah, and they do just, like they do so often, they just hand wave it. Arturo just goes,
right.
It's the difference between an X and a Y chromosome, Mr. Mallory.
Exactly. But I remember thinking, like, well, I guess. Yeah, but I mean, I was able to, I suspend disbelief, I was like, whatever. I go with it. Because it's a good story anyway.
And they keep up the continuity a bit in that Quinn's father had died. Here, Logan's father had also died. Her mother had remarried. She took her stepfather's last name. So that's why she becomes Logan St. Clair, even though she was born Logan Mallory.
I mean, technically, Quinn could be a girl's name, too. So she should be Quinn St. Clair. If it's really going to be her double. But then that would have given it away.
Yeah, that's playing the card too early. But, Arturo and Wade are quite suspicious of everything that's going on at Prototronics. I love that Arturo is, he's still playing that card of like, really should we be getting involved? Should we be giving, to the extent of actually giving sliding information to people we don't know. But, of course, it turns out that Logan did kill Arturo.
Right. It's always good to have security cameras around.
Yeah.
You never know when they're going to come in handy as a plot device.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, every evil genius needs to make a video of their evil plan for people to find,
Exactly.
Wade's computer skills come in handy. And she tracks down this evil genius video.
And you never know. And like, this is just a in general thing, but even in other movies and TV shows, hacking is always done by like banging on the keyboard. They're always clip-clopping away, like, just crazily. Like, the mouse hardly ever comes into play when you're trying to click on things. No, they do it all by keyboard, movement. Do some realistic hacking there, I think. Yeah, I guess if you're using, like, I don't know, a terminal or something like that, I guess it looks better.
I guess moving on to, a little side thing here with the Dominion Hotel.
Oh, yeah. It's quite upgraded, isn't it?
It is. It's quite swish on this world.
Yeah, it's like a 5-star resort now. They got a little, it's like the big glass doors and the rotating doors or whatever, and they got a maitre d and all this other. It's like it's huge.
Yeah,
I mean, it looks like very classy.
Yeah, and well, of course, no Gomez Calhoun to be found.
No more Gomez Calhoun. Instead, we get Elston Diggs, which. Like even when I saw back in the day, I was like, "Who's this guy?" Because they gave him like lines specifically. Like he had a lot to do. Like not like as far as the story itself goes, but he had a lot to say and contribute. And I know he does show up again a couple of times, right?
Yeah, he's ostensibly replacing Calhoun.
So I was just like, I remember back in the day, I was thinking, well, who's this guy? Because he just seemed like I don't know. Like I liked Gomez Calhoun. I like the actor who plays him, Will Sasso. So I kind of miss having him around. And I read something about how Tracy Torme specifically wrote Elston into the script. Like he wanted to make Elston one of those big recurring characters that would, change with each episode going forward and whatnot. And I'm thinking, but you have a bunch of those already. You have a bunch of those. What's so special about Elston Diggs that you need to include him so badly that we can't have Pavel, or we can't have Ross J. Kelly or Gomez Calhoun? Why can't we have those characters back that we've already established? There's no answer for that. But yeah, he for some reason, Tracy Torme was big on Elston Diggs for whatever reason.
Yeah, and for the most part, he actually plays into Remy's story because Remy gets taken out to LA, or I guess what is supposed to be LA in this world. And he's with Monique, and Elston comes up to Monique, and he's like, "Girl, what are you doing hanging out with the crying man?" And that's where you kind of get the first inkling that she's crazy, because she says that they're engaged. And then it moves on to him at Monique's place, and, it just turns out that she's completely batshit crazy for Remy. So it's an interesting side story, even if it is sort of doing that old Remy thing that they used to do, taking him for his own little crazy side adventures.
Like I said, it just felt like, oh man, I hope that they just don't revert him back to goofy, silly, Remy again. Because I like the way that they were going with him the last couple episodes in last season.
Yeah, absolutely. But getting back to the main story, I really like that, Arturo catches up with his wife on this world. Mm-hmm. And at some point, Prototronics does a switcheroo with Wade and gets her double on this world to sort of fill in for her.
That was a neat thing that I did not really expect. I didn't expect that to happen. And I didn't really catch on to it until there was a little inkling when she started being a little snippy, when she first appeared. But I didn't think much about it until she slipped up herself.
Yeah, and it's kind of odd, really. Did they just pull this world's Wade out of nowhere, give her all the information she would need to know, bar, what they didn't know, and she just rolled with it? What?
Yeah, I think so. Because she wouldn't have been on their payroll or anything, because she would have been no one, on this world to them. So I think they just looked her up and said, hey, we're going to pay you, this insane amount of money because, she probably doesn't have money to get the good food and everything that everyone else would, the rich people would have. She would just have the geomash or whatever. So they probably convinced her with money, I would imagine.
Or water.
Or water, yeah.
I thought that was the big thing about a world with very little resources. The Prototronics headquarters had fountains everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
I was like, geez, and it's like we're saying in the deleted parts, where you would have people lining up to use a washing machine. Mm-hmm. They've just got waterfalls and fountains everywhere.
That comes up again later in the messages in time. Someone had mentioned what the deal is with all that.
Nice.
So we'll get to that.
But it all comes to a head. They decide that they're not going to help them anymore. They figured out the evil plan. At this point, Logan just goes insane.
Yeah.
A crazy bitch.
And it was good, too. It was really well done, though. It's there was a little bit, here and there, you could see that she's a little bit intense, and it finally just turns a corner there near the end. She's just off,
Yeah.
Really well done, I thought.
Yeah, and they'd set up the whole geographic stabilizer as well earlier in the episode.
Which is something that we've wondered about before. Why can't they just slide, into a building or whatever? But a geographic stabilizer, maybe that has to do with why they always land safely, relatively, on land and not up in the sky or...
Yeah, exactly. You open the vortex at one spot on this Earth, it's probably going to open in relatively the same geographic location on the next Earth. And probably close to the ground as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, we're going to get into in the next episode. But, that's still to come. But, she follows them to the next world. Again, we get Elston Diggs, who's Jamaican now.
And I don't know, it seemed like a really cheesy Jamaican accent as well.
Yeah.
I was not believing that. That sounded like an accent that I would do. Oh, man, what are you doing, man? It's bad accent.
Yeah.
Sorry, Elston.
But it was a great ending, I think. She pretty much holds them at gunpoint or threatens to kill Wade. And Quinn needs to fix her timer for her so she can use it and get back safely as well. He mucks around with it and then throws it through the vortex. So she has no choice but to just either chase after it or stay there with them. So that was cool, and he screwed her over. Awesome.
Yeah. See, I liked this because, to me, I was a fan. Some of my favorite episodes of Quantum Leap were with the Evil Leaper.
I haven't seen a lot of Quantum Leap.
Not to spoil it, but there is an Evil Leaper that they do a couple episodes with as well that becomes a recurring character. And this reminded me of that because it's one side is doing good, the other side is trying to do bad. So it was really kind of cool. So when this happened in Sliders, I was like, oh, this is going to be great. She's going to be out there. Not only do we have the Cro-Mags, who are supposed to be a recurring character and chasing them. Now we have this other girl, Logan, who's going to be chasing them as well to get the right coordinates. You know, maybe at some point we'll see a Cro-Mag Logan team up. It's going to be epic. What a season finale that will be. But
no. And it's like I said, it's interesting that they would set up Logan here and then not bring her back, considering where they're going to go after the halfway point of this season, after a certain two-parter.
Oh, if they had brought Logan back for that, I would have been okay. I would have been fine with it. I mean, I would have missed, you know, the absence of you know, of course, John Rhys Davies, but, you know, having Logan in there would have made for just, I don't know, I think it would have been a great thing for the stories going forward.
But as it stands, we never hear from Logan again. Spoiler alert for the remainder of the show.
As with a lot of the bad things that happen in Sliders, we have one thing to blame, and simply Fox.
Yeah. And now it's time for another episode of Tech Talk with Quinn Mallory.
I don't make deals. Then I don't fix computers.
This has been another episode of Tech Talk with Quinn Mallory. All right, moving on to our second episode today. The episode is Rules of the Game, written by Joseph Anderson, directed by Oscar L. Costo. This originally aired September 20th of 1996.
To win the event, a player must place his medallion in the obelisk on level 5. We have a great assortment of booby traps, heat-seeking androids, and mind-blowing mayhem guaranteed to kill a few of you in a very entertaining fashion. And remember, any key you find or capture will admit you to a safe haven for a rest period. Just look for the big arch and signs that will lead you there. So let me conclude by saying that I and 228 million fans out there want to say, we hope to see you at the beach.
How do we get to the beach?
Didn't they tell you?
Well, perhaps we missed something.
You make it to the finish line, and you'll have enough money to go anywhere you want. The beach, the mountains, name it. You better grab some gear.
This time, the Sliders exit the vortex and land on a plane in mid-flight. A fellow passenger makes references to going to the beach and that Arturo seems a bit out of shape for the games. Within a few minutes, a loud explosion occurs, revealing that the stewardess and pilots appear to have gone missing. Quinn and Arturo attempt to bring the plane down safely, only to discover it's just a simulation, not a real plane. As everyone exits the cabin, an announcer fills the Sliders in on everything they need to know. Namely, that they have just entered level 1 of a game where they must grab some gear, fight their way through a city complete with booby traps and dangerous hazards, and win by placing their team's medallion in the obelisk on level 5 at the finish line. While the Sliders might like to stay non-involved, the choice is removed due to the simulator beginning to burn up. Immediately, the Sliders learn that in order to survive in this game, they will need to be wary of everyone and everything, as a sprinkler system has been rigged to shoot at them. The world itself has been embroiled in a civil war for years, and to help entertain the people, the government developed the game, played in a walled-off area of the city. As they explore the war zone around them, Arturo becomes hit by a beam that blinds him. While they manage to find a safe haven, gaining access via a key received from another player in the game, they are soon attacked by androids and separated from each other. The professor implores Remy to leave him behind and come back for him later. Remy tries to keep his spirits up, sharing a story about an old Navy friend who overcame diversity, but to no avail, as Arturo would rather die than have to rely on others to help him. As Arturo tries to leave Remy, he realizes that he cannot make it by himself and finally decides that he must ask for help. While Wade and Quinn navigate through various booby traps, they eventually come across the woman who gave them the key earlier, and they join forces. After an extended shootout, the girl is shot down while standing still looking at Quinn. The Sliders develop a plan using CO2 to render themselves invisible to the heat-seeking androids and get to the finish line in order to put her disc into the obelisk, ensuring her family gets the game's winnings.
I suggest the only way we're going to find out what kind of world we've landed in is by keeping up with those people.
What is going on here?
That is a car bomb. This game is being paid for very high stakes. Mr. Brown?
Whoa, 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 guys, what are you doing?
Well, if it's a bomb, we're gonna have to disarm it.
What do you know about bombs?
Girl, in the Navy, you learn a lot about everything. Hey, Professor, what are the wires coming out of this coil?
That isn't a coil, Mr. Brown. This is a diesel engine. They don't have coils. How much time did you spend on that course?
Well, I took a couple of classes before I left on a USO tour.
Okay, so a little bit of trivia here.
So originally they were going to start in an airport. The simulation was going to be in an airport that was simulated, and they were going to get on board the plane. So it was a much bigger simulation originally, and probably cut for budget reasons, because to simulate a whole airport is a lot more than just simulating the inside of a plane. So,
yeah,
let's cut that. In this one, Arturo was acting like he was the captain, which his actions, like if you read the script over at dimensionsofcontinuity.com under their Lost and Found section, it reminded me of that later episode where Arturo gets a scan or something and learns that he's dying, so he starts just living life to the fullest.
Right.
That's this episode originally. It sort of made me feel like that's what he was doing here, because he was acting as captain, sort of like giving orders to the rest of the team. He was pushing buttons on one booby trap without consulting them because he knew what the answer was to this particular puzzle. He was the one who was inspecting for the bomb and then jumping into the car, into the Jeep, just to try the key, like without consulting, with no pausing, just jumping in, let me try this, and, being safe. He was very arrogant in the original script. Like he didn't want to talk with the others about, what should we do next? Should we go here? Should we go there? He was just saying, let's go this way. Let's do that. So a lot more arrogant in the original script. There was a lot of other booby traps that they had in the original script. If you notice my synopsis for the first episode compared to this one, very different. This synopsis went very, very quickly, because a lot of it's action and it's just booby traps that they're trying to get through. And they had, like that first episode had a lot going on. It was a really great story. There was some really good alt history and everything. This one was just so quick. This is an action episode, this one here. And they had a lot more plans for more booby traps. They had a talking gargoyle logic puzzle that they were going to be solving. Sort of like they got to this one section and there was two gargoyles, and one of them says, I always tell the truth, I always lie, and they had to figure out which door to go through. It's like that old puzzle.
Like Labyrinth or something.
Yeah, exactly. It was just like that. Exactly, yeah. I knew I'd seen something like that before. There was supposed to be a big swarm of like killer bats that showed up. There was going to be a river of acid. They were supposed to walk across a narrow beam high above the ground, like between two buildings. We were going to have giant rats, and we were going to have a killer jukebox that shoots circular saw blades out of them. Like it was like, instead of the records being in there were circular saw blades.
Like a bad Stephen King adaptation. Or
yeah.
The killer jukebox.
Exactly. And then finally, at the end, it was pretty much the same, except when they put the disc in the obelisk, you saw a picture of Nikki with her team on the screen. Originally, it was supposed to be a picture of Nikki with her family. It would have been her and her husband and her two kids on the screen. So a little more to her. And then the androids, for some reason in the original script, after they put the obelisk in, or put the disc in the obelisk, the androids continue shooting at the sliders as they slide. Even though the game is over, they were still shooting at them, which I think is just like, we got to have more action to end this. We have to have them escape. Just, almost the threat of death still has to remain. So, yeah, there's that.
Stay where you are. Do not move.
We might set it off.
Set what off?
Look over your shoulder.
Gwen?
All right. If it hasn't gone off yet, it's got to be triggered by your weight. You must not move. How much do you weigh?
What?
I need to put enough weight on the trigger pad so it thinks that you're still standing on it. How much do you weigh?
100 pounds. Okay, maybe 104. I had a lot of pizza last week.
All right, well, getting into our discussion of this episode. So, the sliders slide onto a plane. You know, it's like I was saying, it's interesting that these episodes should have been in the order that we're watching them now. Because in the last episode, they did set up that geographic stabilizer.
Exactly.
So suddenly it makes you think, oh, maybe they did slide somewhere like really high in the air all of a sudden. Like that's kind of freaky. And then, of course, as it's revealed to actually not be a plane. It's this simulator for the game.
Right.
Cool reveal. I really like this opening.
I understand why they put this episode first. You know, like, I think Double Cross was the better episode by far, but like in Fox's eyes, this episode is just all like, action movie. That's what it is. It's an action movie. So put this first when they air it to catch people, say, hey, look at what this is. So I understand why they put it first, but yeah, the whole sliding onto the plane thing, I was like, oh, what the heck's going on? How can they do this? Like, when I first aired, I was thinking, well, that is odd that they landed on a plane. But if you watch it in correct order, it makes sense now.
At the same time, it's like you said, it's like very action oriented as well. And of course, like, we like to play clips throughout the show. We get clips to sort of break up our little segments. It was really hard for me to find good, solid clips.
Yeah, I bet.
to play throughout the episode. So, yeah, it's just showing you exactly how much action oriented they are rather than character development or story progression. But, it is as it is. We're in the game, and you have to survive 5 levels of the game, and pretty much the big prize is like a whole buttload of money.
Which sounds, when you look at the game, it's really just, it's like a deadly game of paintball, really. It's like that's what you can do that today. You can actually play the game today. It's just that you're not going to die when you do it. It's very similar to those big paintball arenas that you can go to today.
Yeah, and I have to admit, I do love movies that have like dystopian future games in it. Even like the old cheesy, like what was that Schwarzenegger one? Running Man.
Right.
They're kind of big today in the teen market with movies like Hunger Games and
oh yeah, definitely.
Maze Runner and whatnot. So yeah, I kind of like this idea of dystopian future games.
A lot of people in the Messages in Time talked about how there's this seems like the Running Man. Like a big tribute to the Running Man.
Sort of getting them into the game as well, like where, they bring up the points. Like Arturo says, oh, there's plenty of food and stuff in the plane. We'll just hang out here until we need to slide. Nope, we're going to heat up everything so you cannot stay in this location. You need to get out and into the game.
We do have an exposition extra, but it's totally appropriate, because he's just the announcer. He gives them all the information they need. But it's like, well, yeah, okay, this is perfect because he's the announcer. He's explaining to the players. He's explaining to the people watching at home what the deal is. So like the exposition extra is not like out of place in this one. Like if that was just a guy who came up and said all that stuff, then definitely it'd be another one of those terrible extras. But it works in this case.
A little bit cheesy maybe, but yeah.
Definitely a little cheesy. But that's Sliders is always a little bit cheesy. There's always a little bit of cheese in there.
We get a great moment with Remy here at the beginning because they walk past like a blown up truck.
Mm-hmm.
And it just makes you think like someone's just going up and just blown up on them. So It's up to them to try and figure out whether or not it's safe to use. And we get this great bit of info from Remy that he was at some point in the Navy. And, I can't figure out whether or not he was actually in the Navy proper or if indeed, like he says, he was on a USO tour.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And the whole thing about this is, back in season 1, in the episode Summer of Love, at the very end, they slide into this world that's abandoned and there's a big tidal wave coming. And Remy's like, guys, I can't swim, but yet he was in the Navy, it's like Navy, naval, water. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
We'll go with that.
Yeah.
I'm thinking more of a USO tour thing, but he does, like, he really does, he acts like he was in the Navy. Like he steps up.
That's what I mean. Like, I got a bit confused, like, whether or not he was in the Navy proper, because he does say, I took a couple of classes before we left on the USO tour. But yeah, it was a bit complicated. Like I almost thought it was a good progression for his character to sort of set him up as having served in the armed forces at some point. And that's kind of why we can build him up to sort of be this more solid character. And then, of course, we have Arturo, who gets shot in the face by a laser because they don't have bullets in the game. Well, I guess the contestants have bullets, but like everything that's trying to kill them is like these laser things. And so Arturo gets shot in the face with it and is immediately blinded. And he's going to be blind for the rest of the episode.
Until they slide and wraps everything up nice and neat.
Yeah, and it was a little off for me because towards the end of the episode, there's the woman who I'm pretty sure has a name. It's Nikki?
It's Nikki.
You don't really kind of find that out till the end.
Right, exactly.
But she gets shot with a laser and immediately dies. And I'm like, well, she didn't even get shot in the head. She kind of just got shot in the side and she died. Arturo took it to the face and only was blinded from it.
Well, I went back to look at it because I was like, oh, that's right. She did get shot by the same beam, or what appeared to be the same beam. So I looked at it, and when Arturo gets shot, so when Nikki gets shot, it's boom, hits her in the side, and she dies. When Arturo gets shot, he was in the Jeep, and the beam came at him through the window of the Jeep.
Okay.
So I'm thinking that's probably why it's a little different. It didn't get through the glass or something, and it blinded him that way. But I'm imagining that maybe the intention wasn't like that gun wasn't supposed to blind him. It was supposed to kill him, but the glass somehow stopped it. It's super glass. It's super fiberglass.
I'll give it that.
But, the whole thing with Arturo being blinded was, for me, I think this was the best part of the episode because his character is so arrogant normally, and like he's just going to do everything on his own. And now he can't. And he struggles with trying to ask for help. Like he doesn't want help. He wants to do it all by himself, even though he's, now handicapped. It's like, no, I'm still going to do this on my own, but he can't. I think it was a great moment for his character.
I agree. And, again, they're teaming up Arturo and Remy. Yeah, you're right. They get some of the best stuff in the episode. I think John Rhys-Davies does a great job of playing Arturo as being blind. And the scene with the electrifying spiders, I thought was really, really strong.
My favorite part with that was when he tries to, get away from Remy. He's like, just leave me alone. You go, come back for me later. And Arturo starts going off on his own, and he realizes he can't. And he has this breakdown. His head is dound, and he's like, well, come on, man, help me. And Remy doesn't respond right away, and he's like, please. He is a genuine, heartfelt please. Like, all right, I'm broken. Just help me.
Yeah.
That was like intense. I was like, that's good. That's right there. That's why he needs to always be in every single episode of Sliders.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. It's definitely one of the best acted scenes in the whole series. And then as we go along, we kind of find out more about the game. Honestly, it doesn't seem like it's too dangerous. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's just like there was 25 teams in total. So you're talking about, if you're talking 3 to 4 people per team, you're talking about 75 to 90 people maybe. And a lot of them are just wiped out, by the time they get to level 2. So, and it seems that the Sliders are able to avoid a lot of the danger a lot of the time.
Without any training.
Yeah, exactly. They weren't even prepared to be in the game. There were people who had to go through semifinals and stuff. Like Nikki's talking later. There were actually stuff you need to do to actually get into the game proper.
Yeah.
So when they're actually in there and they manage to get around all the laser garden sprinklers and the robot dogs and the electric spiders, they really get through it. I'm not going to say it was easy for them, but
right.
It doesn't seem like it would have been as dangerous as it could have been. And it's like you were saying in the stuff that they changed, they did want to do a lot more. What they did come up with was good. Like I said, I really enjoyed the electric spiders. I did think the hopscotch booby trap was a little strange.
It was just here they are in this life or death situation. And suddenly Wade goes like ADD and like, oh, look, hopscotch. I want to play. Da, 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 da. It's like, what? It seems so like if you're in a life or death situation and you see a hopscotch, thing drawn on the ground, you don't just start playing hopscotch.
I understand, like, it was operated by pressure sensitivity, right? That's why he sets up the whole thing with the rock so they can run away and get away just in time before it goes off.
I like that.
Yeah, but it didn't go off straight away.
Right.
Like, she had to, like, do a whole run down the hopscotch and then come back before it actually triggered. So I'm like, is it some sort of, like, thing, like, where you actually have to do the hopscotch before it works?
I'm wondering if it was, like, if you were on it for a certain amount of time, like if you were actually pressing the hopscotch, markers for, like, more than just, like, a second or two, it wouldn't activate. When she is finally, standing there and it's been activated and Quinn puts the rocks on there, they're able to run down the alleyway and around the corner before it activates. It's like there's a delay. I can't help but think there was a better way for them to come upon that trap rather than just being on a hopscotch thing that Wade just wants to try in the middle of a war, basically. It just seems out of character.
Yeah. Well, it did serve as a good means of sort of having this nice conversation between Wade and Quinn, sort of reestablishing them more as really close friends rather than, as we've been saying for the last 2 seasons, the Quaid that we kind of saw there,
Right.
And it's the whole thing about, like, you would tell me if I had spinach in my teeth or something like that, and it ends with him saying, well, how's my breath? I thought that was quite good, like a reset up of the characters' relationship. And then there's a reason why in the last episode we did a dramatic reading. Is because here we get the first, I guess, official mention of the 29 years between slides. Well, he says 29 years. He doesn't say 29.7, but he does say 29 years.
Exactly. They team up with this other player, which, you said you couldn't remember her name, and I didn't know what her name was either. Like, I was watching the episode, I'm like, what the heck is her name? Because I'm taking notes, and I'm like, what do I call this person? I had no idea. I actually had to look it up on IMDb to find out what her name was, because I was like, does she even have a name? Like, they never named her until the very, very end. I'm like, well, that's weird. They could have just thrown a line in there. But yeah, they're talking with her, and that's when it comes up that if we don't make this slide, then we're going to be stuck here for 29 years. As they were talking with her, they give the history of this place, which it just seems really ridiculous to me that they were having a civil war for years, and so they decide to ban all sports, or they banned all sports during the Civil War, or they banned sports so a civil war happened. For whatever reason, they banned all sports, which is just odd. Does that mean like Little League is out? Like, can you not play kids soccer? Is that also, banned? Are all sports of any kind banned? It seemed odd. And then they're like, but to make up for it, we're going to have this game that the government made up where you guys are going to go in and try to stay alive. It was like, I don't know. It just seemed like an odd history to me. They really missed a chance here with this alt history and this world to, like, make a social commentary like they usually do. They usually have some kind of twist on it, and they're commenting on how this world has done something and how it would be better if they did it this way, or they make a point. But this one, they didn't make any point of this. There was like a throwaway line, I think, about that Arturo said something about they probably hit each other with bats in baseball here or something like that. It was just a real quick line that they threw away. But I was just like, there's so much more that could have been done with this type of world where all sports have been, taken away, and the main form of entertainment is watching people die. That could have been explored more, but then it wouldn't have been such an action-packed episode.
Yeah, really. They haven't done anything to change this world. But the interesting thing is that this game is being televised. I mean, there's cameras everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
So everybody who's watching the game knows very well who these people are. The Sliders often look up at the cameras and say, hey, we never signed up for the game. Get us out of here. And then at the end, after they win, they get up and they put Nikki's medallion in the computer there. They slide like straight afterwards.
Yeah.
Did the whole world see that?
Yeah, I would assume so, because they're everywhere, and they're the winners. So presumably, for a good conclusion, the camera would be focused on them.
But yeah, that's, it's just a straight up ending, and nothing changed, but they survived the game. And Nikki's family and her team's families are all going to get money.
There was nothing in her that intrigued me, that made me want to know more about her. And even her acting, the girl who played Nikki, was not that great. It was very just stiff. That's how she felt to me. Just not the best delivery and just not the best character overall. Not very well rounded at all.
She was set up at the beginning, but didn't really even come into it proper until the very end. All in all, yeah, the action was pretty good. A couple of great character moments. So yeah, it was a fine episode, I think.
If you're into action, if you're into the action part of Sliders, then this was a good episode. If you were into the alt history, the trying to make things right, it definitely was lacking for me. As a season opener for new people, new viewers, it would have been great, I think, because it would have been, it's very easy to get into this episode. It's just like an action movie that you might watch, on the big screen. But for people who had been following Sliders and getting used to the alt history and the little twists and turns that they put in there, it was a little bit, I don't know. For me, it was a little lacking.
You know something? For somebody with so much education, there are moments when you aren't very smart at all.
Spare me your insight, sir.
No, I figured that this is the first time in your life that you may have to depend on somebody else. And I can't believe that you would rather die than do that. Man, don't you know that we need your help, too?
Very well. Since you will not leave me, sir, I will leave you.
I wouldn't do that, Professor.
Right, Mr. Brown. I do not want to do this. But don't just stand there, man. Come and help me. Please?
All right, well, let's get into some messages in time.
All right, so starting off with rules of the game, people back in 96 were saying, was this 96 or was it 97?
This was the end of 96, yeah.
End of 96. So they were saying, so the plane was fake, but did everyone on it, the actual players, did they know it was fake? And if the players knew it was fake, why were they all freaking out and putting on the masks when the plane was going, quote, going down? Because they all freaked out and they were putting on the masks and what's going on? But did they all know it was fake?
I guess at the same time they could know that they were on TV, so they're just playing it for the cameras.
Playing it up, maybe. Yeah, maybe. They were asking how do you get to the next level in this game? Because it wasn't just in a specific location, it seemed. So they said maybe it's because maybe the number of people that you've killed, the number of androids or whatever, it didn't seem to be a specific location that indicated you were on level 2 or level 3 or level 4 or level 5.
Yeah, they make a good point, really.
They said, you know what? They should have just tried shooting the sprinklers rather than, going across the ground, sticking a pen in there. Why not just shoot it? Shoot it, That ends it right there. And they also said when the sliders got separated, did they ever watch an action movie and just shoot the doorknob and the lock, and then they could have opened the door and they would have been reunited? It's that's a good point. That's a very good point.
Yeah.
you know?
Smack the handle off.
Oh no. Yeah. It's we are blocked by this wooden door. All right, we'll meet up later. Bye. It's oh yeah, we have guns. We've got guns here. They also said, how did the Sliders not get thrown out of the game? Because they weren't an official team. They said there were 25 teams in the game, but then the Sliders just appear. So technically there's 26, and they're not registered or whatever. Why did they leave them in there?
Yeah,
Saying,
they don't have a medallion to put in at the end.
Yeah, exactly.
Even if they win, they can't win.
People said, well, maybe they just figured, it's good for ratings. Apparently on this world, since this game is so popular, maybe they played that up and say, we have some some special guests that we didn't know, or let's focus on them now.
Yeah, I guess we didn't actually see the televised event, like how it was being presented to the public.
Exactly. We also had, like I said earlier, they said this was a big episode for a tribute to the Running Man.
Right.
Very similar. And then a couple people, which of course I agreed on already, I said, they didn't like the new theme music. They like the old theme music, which I do too. The new one's okay. It is very catchy. There is like a recognizable melody or theme, I guess, in it. Whereas the previous two seasons, it was more just like music. There was no catchy little hook or riff.
I kind of like the music for every season.
First season music is what I like the best. It had like sound effects of the timer in there. There was a lot of like if you just listen to the music, because I went back and I listened to season 1, season 2, season 3. When I read this Message in Time, when I read that, I was like, well, let me go back and check and re-listen to them. And like listening to them all, the second season was a bit cheesy because they did the whole voiceover with "What about a world where the Russians took over America?"
Yeah,
it was a little cheesy for me. The music was okay underneath it, and then this one here, it wasn't bad, but there's a definite hook in there. There's definite something you can like latch onto and sort of like hum along with. The first season was just a lot of it didn't feel like there was any hooks in there. It was just a lot of like music, nothing recognizable, and just there were some sound effects in there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like that first season thing.
Yeah, and you're right. By the third season, they've kind of tightened up that monologue a little bit just to sort of shoot at the basics, and then we're on.
So that's it for Messages in Time for that episode. There wasn't a lot. So we go to Messages in Time for Double Cross. And people were wondering, now that we've seen a female Quinn, are we going to see a male Wade, a female professor, and so on like that? Which obviously we didn't. Like I said, I thought the idea was odd to have a female Quinn, but some people were like, "Well, maybe we'll see a male Wade now, and then they can fall in love and whatnot." I'm glad they didn't do that.
Yeah,
they said with this episode, and this is what I had mentioned earlier, about how it seems like Prototonics has like all this water and they're just wasting it with these fountains. They said, you know what, this is kind of like a commentary, like a political statement here that the rich people, the people who have money, have as much as they want. They can get all the energy they want. They can have all the water they want, the food that they want. It's like the poor, only get what the poor and the middle class, can get whatever they can afford, which is really not much. So they said this is kind of like a good commentary on here. They didn't like the commentary. They didn't like the idea that they were doing that for some reason. I actually like it. I like the idea that like Monique, who's rich, can get all this lavish stuff, and she's driving a real car.
Yeah, it's funny that she became rich because her father invented the paperless toilet, so something that's like good for the environment, but yet they have like a nice lush estate with a pool, and like you said, she's driving an actual car. And
because wasn't gas like $400 a gallon or something like
that?
It was like way expensive. So like for whatever reason, this person who posted this and other people had commented on it, they just didn't like that commentary. And I thought, well, this is what Sliders has always kind of done. They've kind of done this type of commentary, which that's what I like. That's why Rules of the Game sort of fell for me, because there wasn't any of that in there. Someone else wondered at the very end of the episode when Logan shoots the gun, why was the bullet pulled back into the vortex? If it was so powerful earlier to almost have pulled Logan and Quinn into it when she activated it by accident, why was it pulling the bullet but not like the other sliders and not everything around them? Because it would seem like that would be pretty powerful to pull a bullet back that's just been shot out such a great force. But yet the sliders are standing there like nothing's going on. And after this long thread, they eventually reasoned that it must have something to do with like Quinn's original timer. when he developed the timer, he would activate it, send something through, and it would be pulled back, like automatically. And even, that when he was originally testing the vortex, he was pulled back into it. He didn't jump into it. He was forced back into it by the timer. So they said maybe, when you have this original timer set like it was, you activate it, and when your time's up, you just get pulled back through no matter what, and anything from that dimension that you were from has to be pulled back too. So the bullet, even though it's going forward with great force towards Wade, it belongs in the other dimension, and the vortex opens and it wants to reclaim whatever came from it originally. So it's pulling it back against the force.
Interesting theory.
It is an interesting theory. I thought, well, that's pretty good, actually. I mean, it doesn't come into play much because our sliders don't work with that original timer anymore. They slide, when the timer says it's time to go, and they have to go in to the vortex. They don't get pulled back. They don't get retrieved, basically.
Yeah.
So it was a neat, it was a neat a way to explain that, why the bullet got pulled back. They said heat signatures are kind of a weird way to identify people. Because what if someone is sick and they have a fever? Their heat signature is going to be different. It's going to be, greater. So they said, why not do DNA? That's, retina scans and things like that.
Yeah, and, you could argue that they did it so they could say that, Logan is Quinn, but you could do the same thing with fingerprint.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Thinking about that, like, what if, like, I like the idea. Like I said, I thought it was weird, but I think it's a neat idea that she was him. But did they need to have that in there? The episode probably would have been fine if they hadn't revealed that she was him. It adds another level to it. But did we really need that little bit in there?
Yeah, she could have just been evil.
Yeah, she could have been just an evil person. And as we know, Quinn gets with like every woman that he comes across. So being seduced by her would not have been a big deal. Like she didn't need to know exactly what he was thinking in order for them to, get it on or whatever.
Still icky. Like, I can't believe she's tried to seduce him. Like, what? Why?
Somewhere out there's a female Cory, and she's looking for you, man. She's going to slide into this dimension one day, and you're going to just have an instant connection, and then you're going to find out. All right. Anyway, let's see. What else? Like we said earlier, the Remy subplot is reminiscent of the weaker sex, and like you said here, the viewers back then felt that this was a Quinn and Logan. It was kind of a incestuous feel to it. It was a little strange for them, but they like the idea of Logan, and the possibilities of what could be with Logan are just amazingly great. Of course, they don't ever follow up on it, so it's too bad. But, just like we thought, Logan's a good character. It would have been great to have seen her again.
Yeah.
They said with the 400-mile radius, couldn't they possibly now land in the ocean? Which, yeah, because a radius is not like a straight line. It's a circular, So 400-mile radius, they could end up out there in the ocean.
Well, I'm pretty sure there's an episode that's going to come. It might be this season. Could be next season. When they do land in the ocean, I'm sure of it.
Okay, all right. And then finally, they say, well, looks like Quinn got a haircut and Arturo needs one. I agree.
Okay, so we have like the tiniest little bit of messages from Earth Prime here from our good friend, Russian Cabbie Lottery Fan, and he says he's enjoyed the last 2 episodes. And he posted that over at the Sliders TV forum. So thank you, Russian Cabbie Lottery Fan. We are glad that you're listening.
It's like that old commercial, the hair club. I'm not just the owner. I'm also, I'm also a user of the hair club. I forget how that goes, but I do the episode here, but I listen to it as well. It's very, I'm going to say it's very entertaining. Those 2 guys on the Sliders Rewatch podcast. Those guys are great. No, I mean, I listen to it when it comes out. I listen to it, and I was at the gym on Monday when it came out. And I put it on. I'm listening to it. And I'm working out. I'm like, oh, this is nice. These guys are funny. I like it.
I love tuning in to hear those guys talking about that Quaid.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, no, it's awesome to have you guys listening, and we love when you guys give us feedback, so thank you. All right, so continuing on next week with Season 3, the next 2 episodes we'll be discussing are Dead Man Sliding, followed by Electric Twister Acid Test.
I remember that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to that. Maybe another Stand By Me alum might be showing up, I think.
Yeah, maybe.
Won't give it away.
Oh, anyway, that is it for this episode of the Rewatch Podcast. You can keep up with listener interaction by liking our Facebook page at facebook.com/rewatchpodcast and follow the show on Twitter at rewatchpod. You can also visit our webpage at rewatchpodcast.podomatic.com, which has some of our favorite links there, such as Dimensions of Continuity for those lost and found scenes, earthprime.com, and, of course, the active forum over at sliders.tv.
And remember, you can always write us an email or record a voice message and just send it on over to the rewatchpodcast@gmail.com. Also, if you've enjoyed the episode, please consider giving us a rate and review on iTunes. Always very helpful in building up our listenership and listener interaction. Okay, great to be kicking off Season 3 with this great discussion there, Tom. So time to get out of here. So until next time, it's a good day to die. Well, that's just wonderful.
We gotta slide.
The Rewatch Podcast is not associated with NBC Universal, St. Clair Entertainment, Fox, or Sci-Fi Channel. The use of any and all copyrighted material is only for parody, news analysis, critique, or educational purposes, as provided in United States Code Title 17, aka Fair Use. Music provided by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com. Copyright 2015, The Rewatch Podcast.